Greetings and welcome to OroCRM's video tutorial series. This is Rhonda with OroCRM, and today I'll be demonstrating how to set up display settings using OroCRM. OroCRM allows users to customize several display-related options in order to personalize their user interface and experience. Display settings are set by default at the system level, but can be customized for each individual user on the system. Configuring these settings at the system level requires access to system configuration permissions. Keep in mind that some settings are only available for setup through the administrator depending on the permissions of the logged-in user. Users with the Configure Users permission have access to change settings under My Configuration. Additionally, the logged-in user must have the Update User Profile Settings permission in order to change their display settings. To set up display settings from the system level, navigate to System Configuration. Select the Display Settings option under General Setup. When using the Enterprise Edition of OroCRM, these settings could be managed at an organizational level as well. For this demonstration, we'll be setting up display settings for an individual user. Please keep in mind you must uncheck the Use Organization settings for Enterprise Edition to customize your own user settings. To set up display settings at the user level, navigate to your username at the top right-hand corner of the screen and use the drop-down options to select My Configuration. Click on Display Settings under System Configuration. Now I'll describe the customizable settings for each individual option. The user bar allows for the option to show your most recent emails. Most recent emails are displayed with a mail icon next to your username in the top right-hand corner. Unchecking this box removes the mail from the interface. Keep in mind when display settings are set at the system level of OroCRM, any option to change individual settings are set by default to be used at the organizational level. Remember that when you personalize your interface, you must uncheck each Use Organization Setting checkbox in order to enable the user-level options. The next option is Navigation Bar Settings. The Navigation Bar option displays which position a user would like to see the menu navigation bar. By default, this menu bar is at the top of the screen. Use this setting to change the navigation setting from the top position to the left, which replaces the text with small icons for each individual menu item. Next are Data Grid Settings. Data Grid Settings are used to define different options used to display records in the interface and has several configurable options. The Items per Page option defines the number of items listed on the screen anytime you open a data grid. By default, this is set to 25, but has options for 10, 25, 50, and 100. The Lock Headers and Grid setting defines whether grid headers will be locked on a page during scrolling. This setting is enabled by default. Record pagination is enabled by default and allows users to navigate back and forth through any records from any view page. Record pagination limit defines the maximum number of records available for record pagination. By default, this option is set to 1,000. If there are more records, the pagination is disabled for the grid to avoid performance problems. We can use the Customer Contact Grid to demonstrate these options. The Items per Page in the top right-hand corner is set by default to 25. You can manually change these options to 10, 25, 50, or 100. The Lock Headers and Grid setting defines whether grid headers will be locked on a page during scrolling. For record pagination, select any record to load the view page. In the top right-hand corner, you can see the record pagination options, or you can scroll individually through each of the view pages. Navigate back to your display settings by selecting your name and using the drop-down to select My Configuration. Once again, selecting Display Settings. The next option is Activity Lists. The Activity List setting defines different options to be applied to display activities in the user interface. The Sort By field allows users to choose which fields they'd like to sort on. By default, all items are sorted by updated time. The Sort Direction field defines the direction used to sort activities on the grid. By default, this is set to descending. The Items per Page option defines the number of activities displayed on one page of the activity grid. By default, this number is set to 10, but can be changed for 10, 25, 50, or 100 items. The next option are Wysiwyg Settings. Wysiwyg Settings are available by default and used to determine whether text formatting tools should be available for emails, notes, and comments. The Sidebar settings allow users to define space for a left or right sidebar to keep sticky notes, pins, and task lists. This is helpful when users need to revisit areas of the system often and keep them just a click away. Click the plus symbol in the sidebar to add any of these widgets: recent emails, sticky notes, or task lists. Additionally, the sidebar can be expanded to show a larger view of the widgets by clicking the double arrow in the lower section of the sidebar. And finally, if the report setting is enabled, users can see SQL requests sent to the system for a report. This allows users to be able to verify that a report has been developed correctly. This link is only available if the View SQL query of a report or segment capability has been enabled at the system level and your user has sufficient privileges. Thanks for watching. For more tutorial videos, please visit www.orocrm.com/media-library.